Okay, we're here with Roxy, and one of Roxy's issues, the guardians thought originally she might have a resource guarding issue. I don't think it's resource, I think she just thinks that she needs to protect her guardians. So in this video, I'm going to show you how you can establish invisible boundaries and teach your dog to respect them. Now, a couple of the rules that I usually suggest to a lot of my clients is, for dogs, eating is a very primally important activity. So two of the rules I usually suggest is the dog should not be allowed in the kitchen where we're preparing food, and should not be allowed within 7 feet of a human who is eating food. 7 feet is a good distance. And so basically, in this house, we have tile in the kitchen and we have wood outside the kitchen. So a lot of us, what we try to do is we try to teach our dogs how to behave in the moment of doing the activity, which is the worst possible time to learn any activity. Instead, what I like to do is recreate situations where we can help the dog practice the behavior by controlling the environment and stacking the deck in the dog's favor. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to help the dog discover the, well, not discover, we're going to articulate it, or we're going to create a situation. When we go into the kitchen, we're thinking about cooking food, and we have the ingredients, the order they get put in, stirring and cooking and taking stuff in and out. And so we're really focused on our meal prep instead of focusing on the dog. So when the dog comes in, we're trying to like stir and shove the dog out at the same time. So what I like to do is the same thing we do in sports, acting, weddings, is we're going to do a dry rehearsal. So what I like to do is I like to use scent, because for dogs it's this dominant sense. So what I would do is have the guardians come in the kitchen, take a piece of bacon or roast beef or Canadian bacon or something like that, microwave a single piece, and then pull it out and put it on the counter. The dog's going to smell that aroma. It's going to attract the dog to come in. Now, I went over some escalating consequences with the guardians outside, and we're going to use primarily the third escalating consequence, which is going to be moved directly at the dog until the dog turns sideways, but it has to be outside the boundary. I'm going to stop enforcing at the boundary point, and this is how we're going to teach the dog to do it. And when we do this, I'm going to have our camera person probably walk backwards a couple steps so she can see from here down to the floor, so we can see, because we're going to be, most of the action is going to be down on the floor. So what I would do is, before we cook our actual meal, I'm going to come in the kitchen, I'm going to microwave the bacon, I'm going to put it on the counter, and then I'm going to simulate like I'm cooking. Now before I do this, I'm going to establish the boundary and ask the dog to exit the kitchen, and then I'm going to walk backwards away. Now this is confrontational, front-facing, and your authority goes whatever direction your chest is pointing. So if the dog is here and I point my chest this way, I'm not really pointing it at the dog, and that will allow the dog to come in. So I'm doing this, I'm going to keep my chest point and my belly button pointed at the dog no matter where it goes. So I'm going to show you first how to make the dog move out. Once I've gotten the dog outside the kitchen, I'm going to have the guardian take about 5 paces backwards so she can kind of see the greater picture. It's probably not going to be best footage, but you'll get the point across. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, I'm going to get behind the dog, so the dog is between me and the doorway, and I call this reverse herding. I'm going to walk directly at the dog to back it up. There we go. So now the dog's outside the boundary. So when it crosses the threshold, I move very suddenly towards the dog. As soon as the dog crosses onto the wood, I stop. So if I'm like several paces back, and the dog crosses the threshold, and I take a big step here, I might not have to go all the way to the boundary. If I go here and the dog moves back, that's all I'm trying to accomplish. I want to teach the dog, I don't want you to come in the kitchen when we're preparing food. Is there anything that you can simulate, grab, that's going to attract the dog's attention?
Some chicken or something?
Anything that just, a sound that would attract the dog's attention.
Oh, like right now?
Yeah.
Sure.
So I do the sudden movements. I take it one step back and I pause. And I also feel like a waltz going back and forth. Take a step backwards and I pause. She didn't cross the threshold, so I didn't react. I take another step backwards. And just for dog psychology, if you notice her tail when you're watching this video, you'll do the playback. It was up higher, now it's starting to come lower. We'd like to see it parallel with her spine in the position it's in now. Ooh. So it's hard for you, but when you do it with gusto or stops. So I took my eyes off for a minute. So let's go ahead and as I take a step back, I pause a quarter second in between each step, and I pause again. And when I do get to the point where I'm going to pretend like I'm cooking, I'm going to watch that dog, and then can you make another sound? This is a sound that normally she'd like to come in for, right? So I'll make it even more challenging. So again, we can practice by dropping these really high value chicken liver treats on the floor. Take another step back. Now keep on marching at her. I stopped prematurely there, I shouldn't have. Keep going with some intent. You want to have some momentum going forward. Anytime the dog sits or lays down, you want to take a big step backwards and don't smash the treats like I just did. They'll just eat just as good though. I pause. All right, now I am a professional. This is what I do for a living. I should be able to achieve this because it's my exercise. The real trick is, can I get the guardians to achieve this? So now, yes, I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to give you a handful of treats, so you're going to drop them down as well. So I'm going to exit the room, and I'm going to walk behind the camera so I can direct a little bit. But I'm going to have you do the same thing. I'm going to have you wait for me to leave, and you're going to, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so we move out of the shot. All right, now let's take a step to your left so we can see a little bit better. There you go. And just walk right towards her, and don't hesitate at all. Keep going, and stop right there. All right, now wait for her to stop moving. So you didn't see it in the shot, but she was moving around a little bit. Wait for her to stop moving before you take a little bit of a longer step, just about a half a second step. Go ahead and take another step back. And then a small step back, and then turn, but keep your, rush. Stop. So stop enforcing before you get onto the wheel.
Even if she doesn't move.
Well, eventually she will. Yes.
She didn't move right there.
That was that's true. That's true. Yeah. It's hard to see, and but ideally we would like to stop enforcing it at the entry point.
Right.
Now there, when you watch back, you'll took 3 steps there. So make sure it's left, right, stop. See how she's stopping right there, and tilt down a little bit. There you go. Perfect. So go ahead and take another step back, and then kind of watch her in the corner eye when you turn your hips away from her, and as soon as she crosses that threshold, hiss and rush at her. And go ahead and grab that can or whatever it was that would cause her to want to come in. See, the tail is up really high. And you'll see it kind of gradually start lowering itself.
Wow, this is amazing.
I love it when my clients say to me, rush. Stop. Perfect. Big step backwards. Pause. Step backwards again. Now so she's starting to figure it out. At first, if they cross the threshold a couple times, that's okay. They're figuring it out. Go ahead and simulate a little bit. Try to stay closer to the dishwasher so we get in the shot. Oh, rush. Stop. So you notice now when you start moving towards her, she knows what you want and she's achieving it. And you could actually cut his head off a little bit. Not that there's anything wrong with your head, but this way you get a little bit more of the dog in the shot. And go ahead and clank a dish or something, open the fridge, or something that is going to cause her to come in. Just watch with the corner of your eye. So again, the timing of our movements is really important. So when I'm doing this, I'm pretending like I'm cooking, but the whole point is to simulate the sounds that are going to attract your dog's attention so you can help desensitize them and understand just because you hear the ding of the microwave or whatever it is doesn't mean you can come in. And you can see now, she's staying even, you can't actually see her. She's right down there.
It's amazing.
Actually, let me do this. You're so pretty, we want to have you on film. But see, she's already established, and these are all sounds that she'd be rushing in the kitchen for, correct? Mm-hmm. All right. Excellent. So let's go ahead and, come here, sweetheart. Can I pick you up? Is she okay with getting picked up? Come here, sweetheart. Well, this is the wonderfully smart and adorable Roxy, and these are some tips and tricks you can use if you want to teach your dog to stay behind an invisible boundary.